Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Eating Peace Q&A this week. So if you've never been here before or haven't even heard about this, welcome. I just go into answering questions, and people can write and share questions with me over the weeks anytime. And I just store them up in my spreadsheet, hold them for future Q&A. Today is specifically, I collect questions from people who have been in the Eating Peace Basics, Eating Peace Mind course, which they're watching on their own, but these live Q&As are available for those who, really want to ask questions about the modules. And then other people who've been students of Eating Peace and all the various ways we've done it, whether the little mini workshop or even the cravings workshop that recently happened. So this question comes up a lot, whether you're a student or not. So I'm sharing it here because it comes up so often, just as your own inner student of Eating Peace. In a way, like if you have any kind of interest in this at all, you've noticed an absence of peace when it comes to food and eating, having a body, being in this body, health, looking at your psychology and your mind and your thinking and your feelings, and noticing this piece called feelings, this aspect of life called having a feeling, having strong feelings, and that they seem to trigger or push or move us into behavior that we don't always find favorable. In this case, eating, binge eating, graze eating, some kind of eating. And it's where the term emotional eating, I'm sure, came out of. It's like emotional eating. So somebody asked around this feelings aspect of our life and our world, and that we've all had them. We know what feelings are. So many different descriptive words for feelings. Somebody asked, how can I not be afraid of those feelings? And this has come up a lot with people sharing like, oh, I need to sit in my feelings. I need to just hold still or be there, and let the turmoil run. There's some wisdom to that for sure. And if you actually feel afraid of everything that's happening, of the feeling that's rising, whether extreme grief or heartbreak or sadness or despair or fear itself, fear, anxiety, worry, anything that we're calling stressful, kind of, just noticing anger, irritation, feeling powerless, feeling angry, tight, restricted. If we begin to feel afraid of that feeling itself, it's another thought about the feeling. My perspective, my mind is saying, whoa, this is not going to work, untenable, can't handle it, don't like where this is going, it's going to grow bigger, or whatever it's got to say about that. One way to even identify that in the first place, just seeing that you could have fears or discomfort around feelings, is if you've ever seen somebody display a big feeling in public, and you say, wow, okay, even a child, and you have thoughts about that, like somebody should come in and get that kid to tone it down or whatever. I mean, there's just a little bit an edge of that around what your beliefs are about those feelings. And sure, it's okay to see anger, rage, despair, heartbreak, and be afraid of the magnitude of them. It feels very overwhelming. It feels just huge. That word overwhelm, I love that it comes from boating terminology, where the water is just pouring into the boat, and I'm going to sink. When the boat is overwhelmed, it's going to sink. The water's coming in. That's what it can feel like with feelings. So I think, one way we can do that with the brilliant way that is self-inquiry is just to see what I'm afraid of. Like, write it down, identify. What am I afraid of around this feeling? What pictures come to mind that bring such fear? I remember noticing once how alarmed I was about anger. Felt like, sure, it's alarming and it's okay that it is. Witnessing somebody just furious and breaking things or going off is everyone's going to turn their attention towards that. And deeply sitting with those images and memories, if you've witnessed it and been in the presence of it, to see what the fears are that are there that rise up, that the mind is talking about. I'm going to die. It like just full on almost doesn't even have a thought connected to it. Or just to see the squeeze that comes in around getting away from it, avoiding it at all costs. I never want to see this again. I can't stand it. One of the things we do when we do the work of Byron Katie is we write down our thought about a situation, an experience that we had in the middle of that difficult situation. On number 6 on a Judge Your Neighbor, I don't ever want to experience. That's the prompt. And you see what it is that you never want to experience again. And I remember I had this really insightful worksheet on anger itself. I had witnessed a complete stranger, a man walking with a child who was about 4 years old, right down the sidewalk in front of my parked car. And I was not parallel parked, but directly, parked at an angle straight in towards the sidewalk. And so I had just gotten into my car and was going to drive away. And right through the front windshield, I saw this man and a small child. And he looked like so, the father or the man looked so angry with the child and was snapping, saying, "Stay right next to me. Do not leave, right by, no, closer." And the child was kind of in a small jog, staying right next to the leg of this man, and looked like, in my opinion, it looked like a child who was beyond his years in ability to do exactly what was being said by the adult. And part of me had a judgment of like, this is he's really used to this kind of talk. And no matter what is, all kinds of flowering judgments coming in right in this moment. And seeing that I had a worksheet to write, I needed to identify my thoughts on this man. I mean, they were quickly down the way and nothing moved in me to like get up and go out or do anything about that. Or it was just a brief moment in time of witnessing something and imagining things and just noticing the energy that was in front of me. I did a worksheet on that man and noticing, I had all kinds of assumptions about what was going on there. And I was frightened of that kind of energy, that intensity. It looked so brusque. It looked controlling. It looked demanding. It looked, just dictatorial almost. It looked like something was going on there, abusive. Now, do I know that for sure? No, I do not. I don't know that. But it's not as if I'm blind. I am witnessing and noticing this energy in front of me. And I could see I had so many fearful judgments and so much rising right there. So I could see my number 6 on a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet was, I sat down and wrote them because it's very powerful to get your concepts about what the mind is churning out in this witnessing, seeing something that almost doesn't have conceptual, like concepts. It doesn't have words put to it. It's just feeling, strong feeling like, no. And it was, I don't ever want any adult to abuse a child. I don't ever want an adult to hurt a child in any way. I don't ever want them to lose their temper like that. I don't ever want them to go off. I don't want them to hurt anybody. I don't want anger to cause wars and violence and hardship and suffering. So I just realizing and sitting and writing my worksheet about anger and that man, I realized, wow, I am piling anger into this giant box that is, it is all bad all the time. It is wrong to have it. It leads to violence and suffering and affects people's lives and is torturous. So I realized that something that had happened, I kind of got little clues about this along the way, that if I felt angry, if I felt even a wisp of anger, I would kind of clamp it down almost immediately. And I would feel really tight and controlling in myself. But still, there'd be thoughts running in my head about how they shouldn't be doing that. And that person should leave me alone. It got personal. Usually, if I experienced anger, I felt like whatever was going on was personal. There was something threatening about it. There was something threatening me. But I wouldn't even let myself experience the surge, the power surge that is anger. I had so much judgment about it. It's just wrong no matter what. So my number 6, judge your neighbor, something I don't ever want anyone to be angry like that and wind up abusing people. Of course, none of us want anyone else to abuse anybody, and we don't want to be abusive, and we don't want them to. And I, probably no human beings want to be, really. So they certainly don't look comfortable and at ease and peaceful and natural. Nobody does if they're angry like that. And I could see that in myself and bring compassion to it. So here this person is asking, what do I do when I have really big feelings like that? Because I would see that I would have things like that would occur as reminders or witnessing or something that would call up past memories or fears I had about life. And that would just sort of fume under the surface. And later, especially when it was personal, like boss had gotten upset with me, or a family member, like one of my sisters or parents said something, or a friend seemed to be disappointed or disapproving, I would feel like this kind of inner nervousness. And pretty soon that would kind of morph into, I would like to eat something to kind of tamp things down, to kind of like push things down. I almost would feel sometimes like the way that the eating would look is like it was aggressive eating, violent eating, like an expression of anger eating. So somebody asked, big, huge feelings. The same can be applied to other big, huge, large feelings that we have in life. Really interesting to just see what's happening there and notice what you're putting on that feeling, and that it's all thinking. These are concepts. These are judgments. This is the way I see the expression of that feeling. This is the way I see what's going on there. I'm having a thought. I'm having an assumption, an interpretation of what's going on. It doesn't mean that I will just fall into the background and never act with a sense of empowerment and clarity to something that's happening right in front of me in the world. Because if I'm not so afraid, or even if my heart's beating and I have some adrenaline, I might step in and do something, offer something, be the best way I can with it. If somebody's attacking me, I might say something like, wow, I really feel frightened right now because you're attacking. I'm perceiving that you're attacking, and I'm also wondering if you're afraid or what's going on. I really want to stay present with you, and I'm nervous. You just have different words that would come if you didn't kind of abort the whole feeling or just chop it off or say it's too dangerous to even be in. Grief, similar. I also witnessed in myself like a desire to just keep that grief way down low to the ground, get it out of here. Afraid that if I really felt the depths of my grief, I would be lost. I might cry forever. It'd be so heartbreaking. No way out of it, ever. And then realizing, those are thoughts about this experience called grief. Never getting out of it, trapped forever like a victim of the experience. When we see that, I just found it so liberating to realize that's my mind's interpretation of what's going on. So the question, who am I without my story? Who am I without my whole story about this? And it's not as if I'm blind and I'm not seeing details and noticing and alert and witnessing and aware. There is a man walking in front of my car. I can still remember it now to tell you all about it this moment. I remember having immense grief, like heartbreaking grief, just felt like I couldn't live through the experience. That's what the mind is saying. I can't live through this. And then you live. You always live through the grief. That's interesting. So the mind thinks it's going to die, and you don't. So could it be I am able to be with this without judgment? I am able to be with this without all my interpretations that suggest this just needs to be gotten rid of. I can't go here. This is not possible to be in this feeling. Nobody should have this feeling, especially me. Who would I be without the story? What if it was human to have strong feelings from time to time? And notice they all fade out. Just to touch that with some curiosity. What is happening in the moment when I have big feelings? What am I saying about them? I have a really strong feeling, and just to give it 30 seconds longer than we usually do before we move towards, I've just got to go get some food. I got to start eating. How about food? Let's just calm this down. Let's put something in up here and, let it come down or any other kind of all the very common ways that we feel like we're releasing strong feelings, a release of the moment where big feelings are happening. I really noticed that there was a very deep lack of trust about life itself, handling the feelings. I am supposed to be the one in charge of doing that. That's why I needed so much food to help them all get suppressed. No big feelings should ever happen. I was so nervous about big feelings. So if we just let them be there, it doesn't mean you have to sit and endure and suffer with them. Sometimes people take that, just sitting with the feelings, just like nothing I'm still a victim of them. I have to sit here receiving the impact of these feelings and be very small and inconsequential and unable. That's not really the spirit of it. It's more like I'm the observer here. I'm the witness. I'm the seer. I'm the one being and holding this and touching it with curiosity and compassion. So much incredible medicine in that. Like even it's okay, a turnaround. It is completely and fully 100% okay to be feeling this very strong feeling. It is okay that that other person in the world is feeling that strong feeling. If they knew any better how to express it, they would. And and to somehow relax with what is, instead of just total distrust of life itself and the universe. It doesn't know what's going on. I know better about myself, the movement of feelings, the weather pattern of feelings, what should be happening in other people. I heard once somewhere along the way, there's absolutely no control. We have absolutely no control over any feelings, but we do have control over how we respond to them. And that is gigantic. So letting the feelings be there, too late, it's already there. But if I begin to have lots of judgment and thought about the feelings, then I'm just in my thoughts and thoughts and thoughts and thoughts. I'm judging and judging and judging. I'm seeing life the way I see it, and that all moves very, very fast. Who would I be without that story? Without my thoughts, my assumptions, my interpretations, my judgment, my labels about what this means. Who am I? If I don't think it means something bad is happening, bottom line. If I don't think this feeling means something bad is happening, I'm bad, it's bad, they're bad. What if the feeling is in here, offering up something, and it doesn't have that meaning? Wrongness, badness. Who are you without your story? Here it is, as it is. You feel the rest or the relaxation in that. Just a little tiny bit. That it is okay, whatever's happening. It's okay to be as I am. Having a human feeling. It's all right to be there. And curiosity, boy, like then you want to kind of stay with it more, like, wow. It's really uncomfortable. I'm really angry. I'm really angry she did that to me. Upset about seeing that man. So disturbing. All the images that come. Like sort of deep breath. And I don't have to wind up trying to suppress it or sedate it or get rid of it or, cut it out of my experience, the feeling itself. It just becomes unnecessary to eat or do anything that is comforting, because I'm not assuming this is a moment that requires comfort, that isn't present. It's a moment that maybe looks like comfort is wanted, comfort is longed for, and I can find that comfort exists in this moment without adding or rushing to something else. Food, drugs, alcohol, and then a reactivity of some kind. I can find, wow, my mind might even turn its attention. It even likes puzzles, so it'll be way more pliable than you think, and begin to maybe look and see how can comfort or peace or resolve be here, be present here. And just to relax and slow it down and be slower with it. Anyway, there's a great curiosity can get sparked. It becomes really interested in, wow, I'd love to see and feel, be aware of what's going on here. I want to see everything that the mind is talking about, what the story is here. I'd like to see that story and then witness without the story. I'm curious about what's here without the story. Who am I without my story? Who am I without this thought? What's happening if I don't have a story on this? Then it just desire to rush out of the moment into something comfortable, like food, collapses. It just isn't necessary. So, what a great question. Who am I? What's here without the story? And trusting there is something here that doesn't have the story. There is something present without all the stories that we have in our head. And I don't need to judge the feeling, just to keep it very simple. I don't need to judge it as impossible. It's possible to work with this feeling. So I can have a big feeling, and I can just notice maybe it's a big thought. There's a big feeling, there's a really big story underway. Great. I can do the work on that. That's the good news. I can do the work on that. Any one of us can. All right. Lots of love, and let me know how it goes.